We're joined now by David Becker. He is CBS News election law contributor. David, welcome back here. We just had that conversation about the environment that we are in right now. I know you have been raising concerns for a while about many of your colleagues, people you know, who serve as election workers, who are fearful about what's to come. What are you hearing?
Yeah, I mean, they've been suffering for 2 years now. Abuse, threats, and harassment, not only directed at them and their staffs, but their families, their children in some cases. It seems like election deniers do want to create an environment of fear. I think they want election officials to be scared, and they want voters to be scared to some degree. I think it's also really remarkable that voters have responded with over 20 million of them voting already. We have 1.6 million of them having already voted in Georgia alone. The environment is really scary right now for a lot. I mean, we see that from the polling. We see that from what Scott was just talking about earlier as well.
And these are people in your community that you know. This isn't big bad Washington.
No, I talk to election officials regularly. I was talking to an election official in Florida just last night who was dealing with an issue at a polling place. I talked to election officials in Arizona, including those issues that we've seen in Maricopa County, Arizona. Important to note,
those are the men in the tactical gear that we were just talking about.
A couple of
a federal judge says is permitted.
Right. At least for now, it's been appealed to the Ninth Circuit, and it will be heard next week. So we'll see if that is still the case. Under federal law, there are multiple statutes that prohibit voter intimidation or attempted voter intimidation. And I can tell you, as a former lawyer who used to serve in the Department of Justice, that videotaping or photographing voters against their will, following them, that has been the kind of activity that the DOJ has viewed as intimidating in the past.
I want to make a very clear distinction here, because we were talking about with Congressman Emmer, the call for people, and you've heard it from the head of the RNC, to come and watch voting occur. That is not illegal.
No, it's not only not illegal, properly trained poll watching by both parties is a really good thing. Extreme transparency is something that's practiced by election officials all over the country. They want people to come in and see what they're doing. That is a really good thing, but they serve as flies on the wall. If they see a problem, they're supposed to report it to the proper authorities. When we see vigilantes, and this is only happening in a few places, start to take matters into their own hands, those people are not properly trained. But people who want to volunteer to be poll workers working for the actual election jurisdiction, or poll watchers working for their campaigns or their political parties, as long as they're well trained, that's a really good part of the process.
But voter intimidation is unlawful.
That's right.
We were looking in our research here that the AP has a report saying the most litigation ever filed before an election is happening right now. Most of those lawsuits by Republicans. What does that signal to you?
Well, I think people are very attuned to what's going on with the election process. That's not necessarily a bad thing. We're also seeing efforts to change rules in red areas as well, things to install hand counting of ballots, which is a really bad idea. Really comes up with inaccurate counts, takes a lot longer, breeds more concern about the process. A county called Nye County in Nevada is doing that. But resolving these kinds of disputes before the election is a good thing. So if we're having a lot of litigation, it's important for everyone to know the rules by election night.
Yes.
It's not okay to question those rules after the election. You mentioned that Texas lawsuit that came in December 2020. That was a perfect example of that.
All right. Thank you very much,
Thank you, Margaret.
David Becker.